The Qur'an is a complete guidance. It includes history, philosophy, psychology, and law within its scope. The Qur'an is much more, of course, but for my intended purpose here, the focus is on those areas. So why does it contain history, philosophy, psychology, and law? The saying, "know history and you will know the future," is fairly accurate, as history, which has not been corrupted or falsified, holds within it the beliefs, ethos, culture, deeds, and actions committed by others and the outcome of those. That is why our enemies seek to pollute our understanding of history. Of course, we may never know what truly happened at a given time unless we witness those events for ourselves. However, Allah is the most truthful, and as such, our concerns regarding such matters are eliminated. Note: history is used as a teaching method in the Qur'an by Allah and not a primary condition for our salvation, as it is found in Pauline Christianity, where one must believe in a historical event in order to be saved. History allows us the ability to look into the past in order that we may predict the future, and therefore change our course if we so choose. Philosophy helps us in making sure that we are operating from reality and truth, and to find solutions to our problems. Problems that are ontological, for instance, or problems such as tyranny. Psychology helps us comprehend others as well as ourselves, and to communicate the solutions to them in the best way. So, for example, talking to those who are sincere and bypassing the insincere, and to talk to them in the best way that will reach them. Law governs everything, but to be specific, we are dealing with social law here, which governs our interactions with one another, and which allows us to create unity, free from those problems which plague societies. Al-Fatiha, the first surah of the Qur'an, is the covenant and contract that we are to uphold. The rest of the Qur'an is what this covenant and contract entails, as well as to serve as confirmation of what is within its scope. The terms and conditions of this covenant and contract are defined in the Qur'an in classical Arabic and from within itself, meaning that the words are defined within the Qur'an itself or from the classical Arabic used at the time of revelation. No other language or terms may be inserted into the translation or meaning of the words, whether from hadith literature, another language, or other sources. The context of a word's meaning and its translation may not be imported from outside sources. The context must be from the Qur'an itself. Among the different functions of the Qur'an is that it serves as the dictionary of this covenant and contract. The law is in classical Arabic, the language of the Qur'an, due to it being the optimal language for law. It is a standardized and normalized fixed language, incorruptible as opposed to English and legalese. When this covenant and contract is taken, all contracts that oppose it, which you are able to end justly, do so, and those that are made with you without your full knowledge or consent, if not already void due to this fact, are void, as this covenant and contract supersedes all other contracts that are unjustly taken and implemented. Now, these social laws are to be adhered to and enforced when possible by those who have taken the covenant and contract with Allah, using their own free will, without any compulsion. Therefore, for example, the marriage contract, as well as divorce, is free from any government association, the legal contract with the government, marriage certificate, etc. Everything is included in the covenant and contract with Allah. The married or divorced couple will have to fulfill their duties according to the Qur'an and not any government body, especially in countries that have unjust family law. Also, for example, the economic financial monetary system and central banking, this world economic system, is the cause of oppression, debt slavery, and theft by design. through interest, usury, which makes the rich richer and the poor shackled by debt. This applies to nations as well. Fiat money, strategic inflation, the devaluation of money over time. Today, both parents have to work in order to have the same quality of life that it took one parent working in previous generations. Taxation. Taxes paid by us go to privately owned banks in order to pay off the interest on the national debt owed to them. It also goes to funding oppression and corruption such as unjust wars and social engineering, and goes against our covenant and contract. Therefore, if the ruling class continue to disobey their creator after they have been warned, then we are to disconnect from this parasitic relationship and only engage in sound economics if we are not already doing so. If this means we are to start our own banks, free of usury, no interest rates, and to only use money backed by gold and silver, or the gold and silver itself, or even just barter at first, then so be it. If we are already in the ruling class, we are not to allow the corruption to infiltrate, even if it seems like the only option. It is better to have Allah on your side than against you. The result of us sitting idle is that corruption becomes ubiquitous. For example, besides the corrupt monetary laws, family laws, etc., biological warfare becomes legalized. The corruption of life on earth becomes legal, under the guise of the common good, or progress. This is done via geoengineering operations, man-made non-ionizing electromagnetic field, EMF, pollution, genetic modification, the pharmaceutical industry, commerce, and so forth. This is just one example of many. Now, listen to what Allah says in Surah Al-Anfal, Surah 8, Ayah 73. And those who are indifferent to warning, bent on denying the truth, reject, disbelieved, are allies of one another. Save you do it, there will be means of denial, oppression in the land, and great corruption. Look at the world today and the rampant corruption and oppression. It is obvious as to why, in light of this ayah, the enemies of life, who are few in number, but who have amassed great authority, might, influence, and wealth through their evil deeds, are united. And unless we too are united and a force to be respected, are free to spread their evil as they please. As it is we, me and you, who are supposed to be the guardians of peace and justice. If we are not, then there is nothing stopping them. Other than Allah, of course. However, we have been given the opportunity to carry out Allah's will in this world event should we choose. If we do not, Allah will replace us with a group who will. We have been distracted, divided, and not on the same page, starting from just a short period of time after the Prophet Muhammad's death up until today. This is because the Qur'an has been abandoned, and will most likely be so until the Day of Judgment. However, those of us that wish to be successful still have access to it, and can be the few who uphold it. With that said, history has proven that the masses are not who make the difference, but rather the few. That is why a part of our agreement with Allah as men and women of faith is to follow in the footsteps of the prophets and messengers before us. Firstly, we are not to support any oppressor. We are not to support any aggressor. We are not to support any deceiver, whether they are a so-called believing nation or atheist. If we fail to do so, then we must prepare to reap what is sown for us because of our support and compliance. Secondly, if your nation is the oppressor, the aggressor, the deceiver, you are to condemn it. The ruling class also have specific duties that they must uphold just like the rest of mankind. They are responsible for their nations, and once they have failed to uphold their duties, once they have failed their people by turning tyrannical or oppressing other nations, for instance, the people are called to warn mankind, and more specifically, to warn the ruling class. We are called to warn them to turn to Allah and to stop their corruption, wickedness, transgression, the breaking of His laws and commandments, or to prepare to face the consequences. That was the only real solution to tyranny. After having warned them, we are to remove ourselves from the wicked nation, if they do not repent, and thereafter possibly build a community that abides by Allah's laws and commandments. In the past, some rulers repented and became successful, but most were destroyed. The matter is legal, similar to being served court papers as formal notice that a legal process has begun. The warning is the first step in the legal process here on earth. Once the warning is received, they will make a choice, and if it is to reject the warning, then the punishment of Allah, according to the Qur'an, in this life becomes binding upon them, and the Sunnah, way, of Allah does not change. Should we all become a single community, and then this community is warned, and they reject the warning, then the punishment will become binding upon the entire world. And we will then all face the punishment of Allah. This will, in my opinion, be the beginning of the end of days. However, this does not mean that I do not think that we should have a law-abiding community after having warned this one-world government. It is better to end on the right page than not. Many believe that we are already there, that we are already one single community today. Finally, just like how we have certain nations invading and occupying others in the name of freedom, or in the name of God, or even how governments enslave their own people in the name of the collective good. When we are supposed to carry out the will of Allah, we have to be very careful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the extremely loving and caring, the endlessly loving and caring. That is what Allah's name is used to sign off on, as in to give permission for His name to be used for. So, if you use it for other than love and care, or mercy, etc., such as for control, power, violence, and so forth, you are assigning your evil deeds to Allah's name. Now, how we deal with this act in modern societies is that when you give someone else's name, as in autograph or signature, other than yourself, for example, to take out money from a bank, then you will be punished for forgery. It is the same in the court of Allah. In Al-Fatiha, we have Ayah 4. Maliki Yawm al-Din, Master of the Day of Al-Din. The Day of Al-Din is commonly translated as the Day of Judgment, or the Day of Recompense. The root Dal, Ya, Nun has meaning of debt, reward, of duty, and of obligation. Therefore, the Day of Judgment is the day every soul will reap what it sowed. No one will be treated unjustly. Every debt will be paid in full. Balance will be restored. Those who claim that their unjust treatment of mankind and of life in general by the killing, oppressing, and deceiving or manipulating of mankind is just a temporary or permanent means to an end that will be justified because it is in the name of Allah, those who believe that the outcome justifies the deed and act accordingly, they do not believe in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the extremely loving and caring, the endlessly loving and caring.